What's up, Guardians, and welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I am your host, Josh, and normally Corey would be doing this part, but he's been off having new lights of his own. So joining us tonight are the one and only, the fan favorite requested. We actually have gotten a lot of requests for NerdGeneralist.
What's up, you filthy Guardians?
And making his long-awaited return, we haven't had him back in a long time, A1Johnnny is joining us from the Tower Casuals LFG.
Happy to be here.
This is bullshit. I was expecting B1Johnnny.
Yeah,
I mean, I can go grab him, but
we gotta settle for this guy, this jabroni over here. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Excited that Banshee is finally going to be a gunsmith again for the first time in Destiny 2.
He's not. They didn't bring back Arms Day, but you're on the right track there.
This is like the next best thing. I feel we're gonna watch into that just in a second. We're gonna get right to the schwab. To start things off, though, like we were joking, Corey is not here tonight. Him and his wife yesterday had their beautiful baby boy. So
hold on. So you called him a new light. Does that mean that Shah Han is raising his son now?
Okay, so Corey and I had a discussion about this, and he was like, "Does this mean that Shah Han is part of my family now?"
Shah Han is yo daddy.
I want to find exactly what he sent me about it. So yesterday, for those who don't know, Powerful Friends has not been up for sale in like 8 months. Yesterday was the day it went up for sale, and Corey's been needing Powerful Friends. So he is I'm congratulating him on the birth of his child, and he's like, "Hey man, do you know if Destiny on xCloud has touch controls? I really need to buy Powerful Friends." And I was like, "No, it does not." He's like, "Damn. Well, okay, well, it's not on iOS." He's like, "But my wife has a Pixel. Maybe I could still get it." I have not gotten an update if Corey managed to get Powerful Friends or not, but I'm going to ask him during the week.
Yeah, we're going to need an update on that, Josh.
So I guess he said it to me in my mentions or something. I don't know, but congratulations to Corey and his wife. He'll be back with us in a few weeks. Until then, Nerd's going to be sitting in the co-pilot seat. I've shifted over. I've taken over the fire team. So we're in for absolutely strap in. This is going to go either great or disastrous.
Josh, I would like to raise something to the fire team here. That I would like to raise a vote that while Corey is gone, that we hereby deem these next few weeks the reign of terror.
It is absolutely the reign of terror. That's going to be the title of the episode tonight. The reign of terror.
I mean, when you're pulling the likes of me off the bench, something's going wrong.
I mean, we're desperate, okay? We can't call Joe every time we need somebody.
No, listen, Johnny is the play here. He's exactly what we needed. We needed someone to just yeet this episode into the stratosphere so we could start these couple weeks off with a bang. And Johnny's the man to bring in for that.
We need a Titan to fill in those Dune Marchers, you know?
We do have one of each class here. I want to note that we have a Hunter main, a Warlock, and a Titan.
You could say this is the Tower Casuals Vanguard right here.
Why the hell are... Oh, wait, so, I mean, this will be the perfect episode.
We replaced our Titan leader with another Titan.
You replaced Zavala with some guy you pulled out of
some asshole off the street. So I found what Corey said yesterday. I told him, congratulations. He goes, "A new light!" exclamation point. And then in parentheses, he said this, not me, mind you. "I should have named him Shah Han." I'm going to frame that, and I'm going to hope that years from now his child gets into Destiny, hates Shah Han as much as the rest of us, and I'm going to present that and say, "This is what your father wanted to name you."
No, you know what's going to happen is he's going to get into Destiny, and he's going to see Shah Han and be like, "Dad, you're a fucking idiot."
No, what? Corey's going for the long con. 10 years from now, they're going to raise Shah Han up. He's going to be the main character of multiple expansions. We're all going to love him.
No.
Oh, dude, I'm fucking quitting. I'm taking my talents to Outriders.
Screw
Beyond
Bitcoin.
Light is Shah Han Central. Let's go.
Screw Bitcoin. Corey is investing
how
heavily.
Terrible that would be.
We get on a boat with
Central.
the Drifter and Shahan and peace to the Andromeda Galaxy and chart new territories.
Oh my gosh. Well, we've already exceeded our Shahan budget for this episode, guys. We got to jump into some real content here.
We really do. We've all 5 minutes in and we've already just annihilated the jokes. We all got jokes here. So guys, to start off the week, we're gonna bring back a segment that I like to do, the exotic engram. We're gonna talk about what is your favorite drop. Normally we would do of the week, but I know we're all kind of pulling back on this season a little bit. Favorite drop of the last couple of weeks. John, we're gonna divert to you first.
Okay. Can I break the stride here and run an armor drop that I'm really excited about?
Whatever drop you're excited about. I want to hear about it.
Okay. So basically, since, I don't know, Season of Arrivals, I've been trying to hunt down a high intellect set of armor. And I finally got the last piece that I needed. Old Salad Fingers, last week, was gracious enough to give me a 31 intellect chess piece. My natural intellect is now sitting at 90 with all of those pieces on. I just throw an intellect mod in on my Titan cape, and I'm flying. I'm eating all over the place. You got to get your eat before stasis these days. Don't forget.
You really do. I love how many yeets I'm seeing in Gambit. We got the meatball down to about a third of health today, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I swear to God, it was Johnny reincarnated. I just see a Titan come flying in out of nowhere. I was unaware we had a missile Titan, and just destroys the thing. Somebody invades. He's taking shots at all of us. The Titan just yeets across the map and kills the meatball. It was beautiful.
No,
I can't thank Bungie enough for the Fallen Curious. It's like they did purpose made an exotic for me. I'm just so happy.
As a warlock main, that shit pisses me off. It's like I go like 3 army of 1s in a match and get the other team so far down, and all they have to do is just summon their little meatball, and it's just, we're just gonna throw ourselves, we're gonna suicide bomb this boss, and it's done. Ridiculous.
That's why you need a divinity bitch on your side. Nerd, what's your favorite drop?
So for me, it would definitely have to be my messenger. For those of you
which he finally got.
And we were all present for. We were on that card.
We were all on the card.
The no, you were not.
Oh,
that was my igneous hammer. This one,
Oh,
I happily jumped off a cliff 10 rounds in a row for.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later in the episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, messenger with Desperado, Outlaw, Ricochet rounds, and a range masterwork. Way better than the I think it was, what did I get on the last one? Either Bottomless Grief or Celerity. I can't remember which
you got
ones.
Celerity's the Trials one.
Celerity and then some other god awful perk in the other slot. It was just terrible. I immediately broke it down. It was terrible. But finally we're rolling with the messenger. I love it. It's smooth, it's buttery. It gets those kills.
It's my go-to in both PvP and PvE now. Despite me not having a good PvP role, I do have a good role, but I'm so used to my first role, which is rapid hits and one for all, that especially in frantic scenarios like Control or Iron Banner, I'm usually firing at multiple targets anyways.
Yep.
That it's just great. I'm reloading like it's nobody's business, just dumping that damage in.
I think that's the biggest difference between the Messenger and Redrick's Broadsword. Is Redrick's Broadsword was only good because it's Desperado. Messenger is just a good pulse, and then you proc Desperado and you go off. But
you're talking to the Pulse King over here. So I've been searching for that pulse rifle that can replace my beloved blast furnace.
Oh man,
Ladies and gentlemen, I
used to curl up at night, get into bed, pull the covers up, roll over, kiss my wife, roll over on the other side, kiss my blast furnace goodnight.
That curated blast furnace just slaps so hard.
It was so good.
But while we're talking about pulses, though, so I know we've gotten a couple of good options since Beyond Light came out. Stars and Shadow was a favorite when it dropped last season for the first time. This season, I've really been digging Third Axiom, the Vanguard pulse. Man, that one. is great if you can get the right perks on it. I have Dragonfly on it, and arc explosions for days. That's just all I'm seeing is arc.
Yep.
I just can't seem to get a good roll on it. I finally, so like I hadn't gotten any drops of it until this week, really, and I got like 3 back to back, and I just could not get a good roll on it. I think the best one I could get was probably Subsistence One for All, which is pretty decent. I don't know. I'm still
for a PvE pulse. That's not bad. I like Subsistence a lot. Dead Man's Tale is what changed my thinking on that particular perk.
Oh man, that Subsistence on Dead Man's Tale is just brutal.
Yeah,
it's disgusting.
I've got Subsistence One for All on my Igneous Hammer, and we're not going to talk about the 5 Igneous Hammers I deleted with Celerity, but at least but yeah.
The weapon I'm bringing to the table though, I've got 2 I want to talk about real fast. This one's just kind of like, this is like the runner-up. Igneous Hammer with Rapid Hit Rampage. I'm not a big hand cannon guy, but goddamn, that is a smooth hand cannon. I love it. I'm trying to get better with hand cannons. I still don't feel comfortable taking them in the PvP, but I really, really enjoy it in PvE content now.
Yep.
And then, of course, last week, got my Adept Shadow Price from the Grandmasters. I talked about it a little bit briefly, but 4 times the charm, 1 for all with the Adept range mod. Man, that thing was shooting from across the map. I went into Banner, got a 10 kill streak. It was beautiful. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Shadow Price is so bad. 450s aren't good. And it's true, 450s definitely need a buff. They're in a really weird place right now. But as far as, like, I don't know, just something that's like consistently hitting those headshots, I feel like it's the perfect auto rifle that, like, you need to be just slightly decent with an auto rifle to use it. It's not like Gnawing Hunger where you just point and pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Like, you actually have to try a tiny bit with it. I really like it though.
So it's weird for me, like Shadow Price is the stereotypical Destiny auto rifle for me, at least in terms of the way that it feels. It's not the best feeling auto rifle for sure, by far, for me at least. But when I think of an auto rifle in Destiny, I think of the way Shadow Price is. 450s definitely need that buff, but I mean, it's still, I mean, with the Adept perks, it's really nice.
I think that's the key here. Like, if you feel underwhelmed by one of the, like, Palindrome's just great across the board, right? Yeah. But I've seen a lot of people go, oh, Swarm and Shadow Price just aren't that good. Man, if you get the right perks on them, those guns, and I think it's all in, like, what you're comfortable using too, right? We say that all the time. Like, the meta is in such an interesting place where you don't have to run a 120. 120 hand cannon in the Crucible. You can run now. If you're in comp, you're going to start seeing a lot more of that the farther you go up in comp or in trials. Like, you're going to have to use the meta stuff. But if you're just hanging out in the lower brackets like us, or, you know, kind of getting to the mid tiers, getting around 3 wins, you could still use whatever you want to. You could play off meta, Iron Banner, you're perfectly fine, regular control, PvE content, you know, run whatever you need to run for whatever you're doing. But you can largely use anything you want and not be at a significant disadvantage like in the past. They've done a real good job at the balancing. And we've said it so many times on the show, Corey and I have, that the weapons, like weapon gunplay, feels the best it's felt in such a long time that it's a shame that the abilities are kind of overshadowing it. Yeah.
And, you know, on the PvE side, I know 450s it's never going to feel as good as your summoner or your Not in Hunger, but it still does the job, especially when you have, like, in Season of Arrivals, we had the overload on the AR. I ran false promises all the time, and you know.
Like 2 bullets break the shield. And it does consistent damage to yellow bars, to oranges. Now, I typically won't have it on in that slot because, like, in high-end content, I'm usually running Divinity, or I'll have, like, an Overload SMG on. I still, the 7 Seraph SMG is still, not 7 Seraph, Icarus. The Icarus SMG, still unmatched if you got the right rolls on it. That Dynamic Sway is just, it's a fucking laser.
You know what I want, Josh? I really want a mod for your game that when you go to try to put something in the slot, except for Divinity, it just gives you a big red X and a middle finger that just shows up on that slot. It's just locked permanently on Divinity.
It's so funny because all I've been playing, like with the exception of doing trials, like with y'all last weekend, all I've done in the last 2 weeks is Grandmasters, and I've played a shitload of Gambit this week. I'm trying to finish out Gilded Dredgen. I'm at 3 out of 5 resets, or 3 out of 5 major ranks. Finally got my first reset today. Got the 40 envoys down for the seasonal thing. I gotta do the 40 guardians next week. And it's just the light at the end of the tunnel is there. I need to win like 8 more matches. I'm so done with Gambit. I'm never doing a gilded title for Dredgen ever again. It's basically thanks for showing up. Thanks for hating your life so much that you played this much.
That's what I said 3 weeks ago, and Bungie basically said, "F you," and you're
which we've gone
Gambit.
into in like nauseating detail now, like how the seasonal challenges have been such a welcome addition. But holy hell, if you're gonna do something like 40 guardians, backtrack that please, because a lot of us got it done on the climb to Gilded Dredgen. So now you're telling us we got to do 40 more. Same with the envoys, same with the resets. I mean, you had Gilded Dredgen already before we found out we had to do the 5 major ranks.
And every normal person knew that was probably the only gilded title that they're going to be able to realistically get. So people
that's why I call it the participation award.
Hey, hold on.
It's like regular Dredgen. Like, hey, thanks for playing this mode so much. Not like, oh, Gilded Flawless or Gilded Unbroken or Conqueror. Like, you're going to see people with that. And, like, that's what titles were intended to be. Like, you're going to see that. You're like, oh, my God. Like, that dude, like, how big is his schlong? Like, it's just swinging there in the wind. It is the igneous hammer.
No, Josh, listen. All I want to know is how many Army of One titles do you have?
Oh, not nearly
medals.
Enough.
Sorry, not titles.
Oh, I've got like 4 or 5. I got enough to get the Dredgen title. You kidding me? I got one today unintentionally with Messenger. That was funny.
I am the Dredgen.
Dude, they kept fucking running at me, and I just sat there procking one for all and just rapping it. Just don't kill your boss. Just run at me.
I've been surprised at how good Dead Man's Tale is for invading.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a sniper. It
so really does. The catalyst, dude, you can basically hit fire that thing from across the map.
Scouts have always been my go-to in the primary slot for a Gambit. Like if I wanna win matches and I'm not trying to grind something, it's always gonna be some kind of scout in the first slot and then Xeno in the last.
Max was our token invader, and he he only invaded using Randy's.
He still talks about Randy's to this day. Every
you can
play
still
session.
Use it in Gambit. There's no light level in Gambit. You can still take it. I took Blast Furnace for a spin the other day.
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna fact check
your
here.
level for invading.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Oh well, see. Oh, okay. See, I didn't think that it affected your light level at all. So like, I don't invade a whole lot.
So weird.
Gambit, dude, we're gonna need a whole Gambit episode at some point. But we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna scoot and boogie on over to this week's Schwab. It's half great stuff, half okay. That usual boilerplate nonsense.
We got there.
Yeah, I got there eventually. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been drinking, so
I'll drink to that.
Hey, there we go. We are looking at the return of Ada 1. We got an update on what Ada is exactly going to be doing in the tower. Of course, we know that she is already going to be the transmog vendor. But the fine print here says, in addition to being the primary vendor associated with the upcoming transmog system, she will be a vendor who delivers a variety of armor-focused items and upgrades. Every day, Ada 1 will now sell one randomly chosen armor mod from the general and armor slot, so helmet, gauntlets, etc., and one randomly chosen combat style, such as Charged with Light and Warmind Cell mods, which should make it easier for players who missed these in the past to get their hands on some of the armor mods from year 3. Thank fucking God.
Man, I have been a loud loud objector of the current system.
Yeah.
Over the last year, I can't even count the number of times I've tagged, Bungie developers and community managers and tweets about mods. I mean, this is a welcome change. Now, granted, I would have liked to have seen them open this up to be like more of a grindable type of experience.
Me too.
I understand the concepts between why we introduce mechanics that only like kind of reward people for logging on once a day, but like for me, this should have been a grindable thing, a long time ago.
Allow me to play devil's advocate real quick. First of all, nerd, how dare you not play Destiny all year long and log in every week to get all of the mods? I mean, I feel like it's kind of on you. No, but as someone who's taken...
Johnny throwing down the gauntlet over here.
In all seriousness, though, like I've brought in 3 or 4 new players or returning players who haven't played since the Red War, trying to explain why Charged with Light and Warmind cells are good, on top of making them understand, hey, you need to see Banshee every single day to see if he has one of these mods. It just doesn't work, because it's even when these mods were released, people didn't really grasp how powerful Charged with Light and Warmind Cell was until months later. And I feel like before the community as a whole really understood how it could affect your build. So for newer returning players, or God forbid, people who didn't play Destiny for 6 months,
Yeah.
It's...
I mean, so I think that this feels very much like a Band-Aid solution, which is good. I mean, because I actually think sounds like it's intended to be a Band-Aid, but if this is what she's going to permanently be doing, in addition to armor synthesis, I'm okay with this. If she's the vendor for returning things that we may have missed in past seasons, I'd like to see exotic quests get doled out from her in the future. Like, hey, if you miss, I know we have the exotic archive and the quest archive, but who honestly knows the quest archive is over there in the corner? Like, almost no, but it is an unassuming fucking computer over there next to the postmaster.
That's where the Cryptarch goes to pee. He pees over in that corner.
Dude, it feels like it. I like this change a lot, though. This is something that was sorely needed. I can't tell you the amount of times we've gone to raid or take people through. We've been like, all right, everybody put on high energy fire, put on your powerful friends, put on your oh god, John, what's the one that you like us to put on? No, not Radiant Light. It's the Void one.
Oh, Protective Light.
Protective Light is a mainstay for contest mode content.
Yeah. Swift Charge has become one because I run so many fucking pulses that I've been using a lot, or not pulses. I run pulses, but I run Divinity, so I constantly want that special ammo kept up. I sacrifice my super a ton to get extra Divinity ammo generated. And it's just, you're not getting through fucking Grandmasters without that. I like it a lot, though. This is highlighting my problem, and this is why I'm so glad they're not sunsetting armor anymore. I need to masterwork another piece of armor so I can just say, this is my Grandmaster armor. Let me custom name this stuff, guys. Because I keep going into regular strikes and the Gambit with Swift Charge on and losing my super when I really need it.
So I have to ask a question here, since we're talking about Ada, and specifically we're talking about bringing world loot pools and stuff like that. Are they gonna bring back some Black Armory weapons? Do we think?
I would be very upset if they did at this point. And I'll tell you why. See, this goes back to my original issue with undoing sunsetting. My only issue, which was you're going to start reissuing fucking weapons we already have, which we saw this in Season of Arrivals. We were like, okay, you're doing this to build the loot pool. Some things like Gnawing Hunger had been really hard to get for the longest time. Like, okay, this is fine because you're starting the reissue.
Yeah.
If you start bringing back those weapons now that some of us had legitimately 30, 40,000 kills with, if I have to go grind out in our fucking curated blast furnace, I'm going to be pissed.
I will never understand why that didn't affect weapons in your vault retroactively. Okay.
That's my biggest
Swarm
thing.
Of the Raven and
they can't undo that now because so many of us cleared out our vaults.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
But I mean back then. And
Yeah.
rivals, okay, Swarm of the Raven and Non-Hunger didn't get the axe. Here's new roles on them.
I think that you could introduce them slowly over time and be like, hey, we're going to update the perk pools for these weapons. Like, we're going to mainly focus on stuff that happened in Shadowkeep and beyond. Like, we're going to put Vorpal on Arsenic Bite or whatever the Black Armory bow was. We're going to put Thresh and Surplus on Blast Furnace.
Yeah.
I think you could see that eventually, but I'm not sure. What I would like to see ties into this next one, though. Nerd, I didn't even consider it until you said it. Ada is going to sell one armor set chosen from the World Loot Pool with a stat roll that changes on a weekly basis, and will sell armor upgrade materials such as modules, prisms, and shards like Banshee does currently. I would love to see, with Transmog now a thing, introduce the legendary armor sets from old activities, the Black Armory sets. I'm not talking raid armor. Raid armor should never be obtainable again unless the raid comes back. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, you had your chance to earn them. It's gone. It's over with. But introduce the Black Armory set, the Menagerie set, Season of the Drifter stuff, the old Gambit armor, like bring stuff like that.
Say what you want about Reckoning, the Gambit armor was really cool looking.
Yeah, man, it was.
Bring some of that forward, like maybe the tier 3 Reckoning armor is now a world drop or can drop as ornaments in Gambit. Like, I've been a really strong proponent of, hey, let us earn some of this stuff as ornaments that's useless. Yeah. Don't make me pay for all of this.
So one of the things that I really like about this, and one of the things I think a lot of people are sleeping on, are the sets that get rotated through all the vendors every week.
There's spicy rolls sometimes.
There's a couple content creators who have started to highlight this, and it raised my attention. So if you're listening, don't sleep on those armor sets every week from Zavala, from Shax, from Drifter. Because if you're kind of just getting back into the game, or you're trying to find like one piece to fill out a build, like there's some great stat rolls on some of those.
Yeah, and I think that's something that that gets lost on a lot of players who maybe don't pay the most attention to their build. You get that high stat armor out of the season pass, and that's great, and that'll carry you a long way getting 64 stat armor. But those are kind of just across the board, around 10 to 12 stats in every category. When you get spicy rolls, like if you want a grenade focused build, having armor with like plus 20, plus 30 in discipline is going to do so much for you. And it's a free thing you can pick up on the tower now if you look at the rolls that they have to offer.
Right. I'd like to I like this, and this is a vendor I'm going to be at a lot because let's be honest, one can never have too many transmogged hunter cloaks.
I mean, look, Josh, you can, and your bank account is going to dictate that.
Yeah, so I like that they're moving, it seems, most of the armor focus to Ada, so the gunsmith can actually be a gunsmith, like NerdGeneralist was saying. Banshee's going to get revisions to his inventory, which is something I was going off about a few weeks ago. I was praying and hoping for a return to Arms Day. It's not so, but I think I got the next best thing. On a weekly basis, Banshee will sell a selection of 6 weapons randomly chosen from weapons in the World Loot Pool, 2 weapons each for kinetic energy and power, with perk rolls on each weapon that are randomly determined at the beginning of the week. So each weekly reset, when you log in, you can head to the tower, see what Banshee is selling, and pick up a weapon you've been looking for with a roll you are excited to use. I think this in particular is great for lapsed players and return players. Fantastic. And I mean, we saw it with Arms Day and Destiny 1. We've seen it with vendors before in the past. A lot of it was in Destiny 1, though, where there would be a certain perk and it would only be up for a day or for a couple of days before a new refresh. We would be booking it to the tower, specifically watching those Dead Orbit hung jury rolls. I remember doing that, or like, oh, you got to go grind out, like this is what's up for Arms Day. You it's like a Suros Pulse or something. Like you got to run and do it. You got to chance it. You got to get the roll for next week because you can get a god roll out of this or something like that. Like, this is something I want a reason to go visit some of these vendors. I'd still like it to where when I do my 8 bounties for Banshee, I get some Bright Dust out of it. Yeah, because I think that's frankly a little absurd. I like my Prime, but I want some Bright Dust with it too. And I still think that there should be a way for us to do some bounties, do a bounty or 2 each week to earn an upgrade module for free, like we used to. I think those are weeklies that should have stayed in. But everything else is so accessible. I was telling John this the other night. I have an overflow of prisms. I have too many prisms. I can't reset some of my stuff.
What will I do with all these prisms? I can't.
What do I do with all these prisms? Because I've got too many golf balls too.
Hey guys, if you wanna, want to know where to break in, point at Josh. Break into his house. He's got lots of prisms.
Yeah, dude.
So,
nobody break into my vault. That Bungie did that. Shax did it and took my raised lighter, and I'm still upset about that.
So I feel like this Banshee change does two really good things.
Yeah.
It kind of fills the gap for the RNG that is the world loophole. We have umbrals, we have bounties for certain guns, but like I said in the past, this season I have taken 3 people who are either brand new to Destiny or have not played since D2 launch, and trying to explain to them what guns to go after, and I'm like, oh, you really like slug shotguns? First in, last out is fantastic.
Yeah.
You're literally just hoping one drops in your inventory and that it has a good roll. Now, if Banshee on a certain reset has the quick draw opening shot or the auto loading Vorpal first in, last out, I can tell people, hey, go in there and get this. This is something worth. It makes logging in on reset, going to the tower. He feels like a vendor, and that's the second thing is, most of the vendors in Destiny have not felt like proper vendors. You know what I mean? This season with what they've done with Shax and Drifter is great. I can't wait for Zavala to get the same. I feel like this is a great having Banshee as an actual weapon vendor and Ada as an actual armor vendor is going to be a big change.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Do we have any more thoughts on Ada or on Banshee's changes before we get to we're our next thing on the last thing on the TWAB is going to lead into our main discussion tonight. So any more vendor thoughts?
I think there are good changes. I'm looking forward to it. I think, yeah, like Johnny said, we need to start kind of stirring up the pot in terms of what these vendors do. So this is a good start.
Yeah. All right. Well, the next thing addresses a very, very sore topic, something close to home for all 3 of us. We've all gotten very disappointing rolls on guns in the past. Celerity and Bottomless Grief have really hit an all-time high over the last season. It used to be you didn't hear too many people complain about it because Trials was so inaccessible, really, before Beyond Light in a lot of ways. And then it's been down so much that you didn't really have time to complain. Well, now that people are getting messengers and igneous hammers with celerity on them, they're very upset. They're getting palindromes with Bottomless Grief. One of the solutions,
shadow prices, perhaps, on the only Grandmaster you've done this season.
Poor John.
That's why I'm terrified to do the
Proving Grounds, dude.
Yeah, I'm terrified to do Proving Grounds because I know I'm gonna get a palindrome and it's gonna be awful.
Palindromes.
I'm gonna get 2 palindromes and they're all Bottomless Grief, and I'm gonna throw my face into a meat grinder.
We have some info from the weapons lead, Chris Proctor, this week. I'm not going to read all of this. Y'all can go read this for yourself if you're interested. It gets into the nitty gritty of it. But one of the things that is brought up by the community is make these intrinsic perks. And I'm seeing a lot of people still saying, well, this is great. These are fine changes, but they still should have been intrinsic. He actually explains why they can't do that, which y'all would find out if you would fucking read once in a while.
And I love this explanation because it really breaks down as a developer.
So while we're on that topic, I do want to say, like, this definitely speaks to Bungie's level of transparency, because I don't know many developers. Like, I played a lot of MMOs, I've played a lot of looter shooters. I don't know many developers who will come out and, like, they'll just say, no, we're not doing this thing. They won't sit and explain to you the internal mechanics as to why they're not going to do it.
Well, most of them won't even mention it at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is and this is one of the things, we've highlighted we really love with them. They're starting doing this tech blog also. They're going to talk about some of the deeper seated issues when they solve them, like things that sound so easy to us as armchair developers, but are really, like, they're digging through, as Luke Smith has said before, it's spaghetti code. Right?
Yeah.
They're trying to comb through all of it to find, like, the one thing that's off, that's throwing the entire game out of whack. But what Chris says here is this is a cool idea, but there's 3 problems. For performance reasons, we have a maximum number of perks that can run on a character at a time. Legendary weapons have a threshold, and many of them are right at the limit. Adding a perk on top of that without taking one away causes, in big capitalized letters, bad things to happen in the form of random parts of perks turning off. Adding a new perk column to weapons from a specific source introduces power creep. Pretty soon we'd end up having to do the same to weapons from other sources. We would basically be back in the same issue we had with things like Mountaintop and Recluse.
Yep, only adept or only adept weapons would matter, and everything else would fall behind.
Right, and that's exactly what he says right here. Adding a new perk column to only adept weapons would work against the third goal of adept weapons, and we believe we would feel bad for players dying to adept weapons that are able to stack celerity with things like Outlaw and Rampage. Starting in Season 14, we are making the following changes to Trial and Nightfall weapons and their adept versions. These only apply to new drops, not previous drops. So, RIP, my summoner is still fucking useless. Nightfall weapons, Bottomless Grief will grant a permanently active plus 30 to magazine, and it is now a fixed alternate perk in the left column on adept drops of Nightfall weapons. You could switch between that and the randomly rolled perk in the inspection screen. And then Celerity grants a permanently active plus 20 to both reload and handling. I actually really like that.
Yeah.
And is now a fixed alternate perk in the right column on adept drops of Trials weapons. But we're never going to get to the adept versions, so we're just going to ignore that.
Josh is not a dreamer, guys. He knows exactly where he sits.
But that said, with this change, I wouldn't mind a Celerity Igneous Hammer now. You know what I mean? A free plus 20 to handling and reload speed on a hand cannon, especially.
You want to give me a plus 20 to fucking messenger? Go for it, because that thing reloads so fucking slow.
Yeah. Is it the most amazing perk in the world? No, but is it something that I'm just going to immediately scrap after this change?
No, I'll actually play with it on certain weapons. Like, now if I get this on a summoner, I'd be okay. I want that. Dude, I want plus 20 on a summoner. Are you kidding me?
And on the reverse, I want a bottomless grief palindrome. Yeah. Adding 30% to my magazine on a hand cannon sounds pretty nuts. You know,
give me that on the swarm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I'm cool with this. Like, I like that it's going to be baked in, especially for us. It's like, oh, thank God they're doing this on the Nightfall weapons too. Like, I've been fortunate enough not to hit bottomless grief, but
so my question with all this is, and they even call out like the main problem with these 2 perks specifically, is that oftentimes you're kind of like, these 2 perks lean heavily into playing against like the general goal of these activities, which is to have like everybody pull their weight and everybody succeed. I get it. Like it's an oh shit perk that kicks in whenever like some bad things happen. But like, I guess I just don't, I see this very much as like a Band-Aid. They're trying to fix these 2 perks in a way that really, like, these should have never been this way to begin with. Go ahead.
To offer a little bit of pushback, I get you, and now that we've had time to play with it, we know that celerity isn't, you don't want to roll around with a perk on your gun that's like, hey, if my team dies, I'm gonna have that moment to clutch it. The idea was cool, but in practice, are you gonna take the one game of Trials on your card where you're the last one up, where you could clutch a 1v3 because you have celerity procced? It's an interesting idea, and while it does seem weird looking back on it now that we've had 6 months to play around with these perks, or 3 in the case of Bottomless Grief, personally, I would rather see them take chances on doing weird stuff than giving us more Outlaw Rampage.
I 100% agree. I mean, I think we're inundated with perks that focus around damage increase and stability increase and stuff like that. I love that they're taking chances. I just want to know where in the game, like in the play testing process, or where in like kind of the design process, that this, like, someone didn't ask the question, like, does this kind of go against the core concept of working as a fire team and like trying to complete these activities? Like, I'm glad. I think these are great changes. I've been saying for a long time that these should be intrinsic perks. There's actually a few perks I think that should be moved away from the perk pool in either intrinsic or like mod based. And these 2 are definitely 2 of them.
Yeah, I think this was a no-brainer change. But that's going to lead us straight into our main topic tonight, which is...
Let me refill my drink.
Trials of Osiris. We chose to have the conversation this week because Nerd and I have been sticking it out the last couple weeks in Trials, and I've actually been playing Trials with Johnny for about a year now since its less than glorious return last year, and it has yet to reach those Destiny 1 heights as like this fabled, incredible PvP experience that it was when it first came out. I mean, our friend Matt he's the only guy I know who's ever gone flawless. He used to be so excited and would log in right at reset on Friday to run and do Trials right away. The thrill of trying to get to the lighthouse, like even when he was LFGing it, was just an awesome experience. Like hearing from him wearing that fucking Trials armor around the tower, it's just like everybody was like, "Oh my god, like this is a god walking among us wearing all the Trials stuff." Trials, since it came back in Destiny 2, like we've covered before, but I brought in two guys who have been playing it a lot this season specifically to share the good and the mostly bad about the mode. We're gonna talk about a lot of things tonight, just like we did Iron Banner last week. We're gonna talk about the loot pool. We're gonna talk about rewards. We're gonna talk about progression, and we're gonna talk about why people just keep diving off the edge of the map for the bounty. I guess let's start there. Let's start with some of the good. Introducing the bounty in Trial or Season of Arrivals. No-brainer move. Absolute no-brainer.
Yeah. I mean, it's the only way so many of us, so many people, I don't want to say us, but so many people out there have had an opportunity to get any of this loot. I mean, there's some people who, believe it or not, are actually worse than me. I find that hard to believe. But there are people out there who are actually worse than me at PvP who would have no chance of getting any loot otherwise.
Yeah. And it's as the population goes down, and Trials population, no matter what you're going to do, is swell. It's going to swell, depending on what's up for the third win, how long that loot pool has been there, what map it is even, what's going on in the current PvP meta. It's always going to swell. And when we had a weekend like 2 weekends ago when Igneous Hammer was up and we had almost 500,000 people in the Trials playlist, it felt great. That's the best I've ever done in Trials. We almost got to 6 wins, me and my team. Other weekends can't win 2 games in a row on a card when there's 120,000 people there and they're all just the best 2% of the community. It's unfortunate that they can't do something to motivate normal people to go in there to do anything other than jump off the cliff.
Well, in regards to jumping off the cliff, because I saw people, saying the meme back in Arrivals and during Beyond Light's launch, and I didn't think anything of it. It wasn't until I want to say it was Igneous Hammer weekend. Me and Matt logged in, Nerd, and we had a team that was running and jumping off the cliff, and I was like, we're just in round 1. Like, these guys, if they would just try, could probably come away with a little bit more progress than just jumping off. Like, even if you try, if you can take a round or 2 away, that's bonus progress. That's a few rounds where maybe you don't have to do that. And, like, I get it. The idea of doing a competitive mode is so daunting for some people, but, I think that in a lot of ways, with the bounties, with the repeatables, and especially with the weekly, they've been pretty generous with those tokens. You can usually, if you're at least trying as a fire team, you can get, because there's been plenty of times when I haven't hit the 3-win milestone, I've been able to not only get my drop from the bounty, but I've been able to go and get another drop from Saint. Yeah. And if you have a tiny loot pool of, all you have in it is Igneous Hammer or Igneous and Messenger, you're going to come away, chances are, with something you really, really like, especially if you're only playing on the weekends when there's a weapon like so many people are doing. Like, when it's an armor weekend, it's just the people who want to look cool. But when it's a weapon, you actually, I think, have a better chance to progress because you have so many casuals in there. Chances are you will match up with somebody, at least in the first round, who's worse than you.
Yeah. So before we talk about we did just talk about the jumping off the cliff, but I do want to point out one more positive aspect because I'm going to have a lot of negative things to say.
I want to get all the positimes out.
I want to make sure that it doesn't sound like I'm just going to doo-doo all over Trials, but I feel like the loot pool for Trials is just awesome. It's in a really good place. All of the gear, with the exception of maybe a couple weapons, and I'm gonna mainly talk about weapons, but I mean, there's some awesome like cosmetic stuff, like the ghost shell is awesome.
And no one can deny that both armor sets don't just look amazing. You know,
I have thoughts on the armor set from like the newer armor set, but the older armor set specifically was awesome. But here's the thing, they're unique. And that's the big point that goes for all of the loot is it's all very unique. All of the weapons feel different. They feel unique. They feel powerful in a different way that the other gear doesn't. Certainly feel more powerful than where Grandmaster loot is right now. Like
and they have an identity. You know that's Trials loot.
Yeah, you definitely know it, and it's worth. So I mean, the reason why we're going to be talking about this is because there's a lot of problems with the game mode, but the loot pool is so good. We're all willing to go in there and try to scrap and find our way to get some of this loot, and I think that's where the problems start. But I do want to call out and say, like, the loot pool, I think, is awesome. I love some of the weapons. The armor looks great. It looks unique. Like, kudos to the team for filling that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that there's a ghost, a sparrow, and a ship that are obtainable. And the ghost, you have an increasingly better chance at getting it at the 3, 5, and 7 win milestones. So you don't have to go flawless for that. The ship, I believe, only drops from the flawless chest.
Yeah, it does.
And the sparrow, I have no idea, frankly. I
Sparrow's
remember reading it once. Sparrow's same thing. Okay. I think it's cool that, because to me, like, those cosmetics should be a point of pride.
Yeah.
Like, they've made the armor mostly accessible to all of us, even offering the helmet and the chest piece, which are usually the two that people are chasing, accessible at 3 or 5 wins.
It's fine. It's never going to be glowing. The real people.
It still looks awesome. Like, if you don't think that this Trials armor, I really liked the Trials armor we got last season or last year. It was the D1 Trials armor. A lot of us had a lot of special connections to it.
For me, it was fantasy fulfilled because I didn't have a fire team in Destiny 1.
Right.
You know,
and
so
it's like
I never got to play Trials.
And I'm going to circle back around to that to the armor from last year when we get to our negatives. Yeah. But I think already making Igneous Hammer available to everybody has been a great move, because that was something when they showed it, I was like, oh, that's going to be one of those. They're only going to do it for like one weekend. They're never going to offer it for 3 wins again. It's not going to be till next season. And
that was totally a mea culpa in my mind. Like, I would definitely say that I was of the mind, same thing as you, Josh. Like, we are not getting Igneous Hammer except maybe 1 week a season. It's going to be right at the end. Like, they want to make that item be exclusive. I think that was a mea culpa for me, because
I was honestly waiting for them to throw it out there like next weekend or something, like middle of April, when you're already, like, people have dipped for the season. They're taking a break before they maybe come in for Guardian games or something. And then they throw it in there to bolster the player base right before that next weekly reset.
Well, DMG even said that they adjusted the loot pool for the remainder of the season to reflect all of the weekends that it was down, to make sure that people on our end of the card and the people in the Adept end of the card both have a chance to kind of get everything.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea of the weapons being much more accessible and making the armor maybe, like, outside of gauntlets and arms, maybe making the armor a bit more rare. Like the chest piece, for example, the great bane of my existence, the chest piece from last year, only was up for 3 wins one time. And I'm so sorry, Josh. I was not able to get a fire team together to get it. I'm still very upset about it. Bungie, drop them as ornaments, please. For the love of God, drop them as ornaments. I do think they've been really generous. Like, across the board, the loot, I think, is the one thing. Like, especially keeping the weapons in it from last year was a really, really good idea.
New perks.
With new perks, the new perk pool rolls on them. I'm still holding out for another summoner sometime. I'm so tired of fusion rifles.
But like the Trials rocket launcher from last year can run lasting impression and chain reaction, and what's the one that boosts the speed? Impact injection? I don't remember what the name of that perk is.
I want to say yes. Yeah, but they're all good. Like, literally every one of those weapons, I think, is like almost a best in class.
Yeah.
Like
that's what I was saying. Yeah, I mean,
like
every one of those
Astral
weapons
still
is unique.
tears me up. Astral Horizon is still killing.
Yep.
Exile's Curse. I know it's a meme for you, Josh, but for legendary fusions, it has a brand new fusion rifle perk that it's the only gun in the game that can get quick start.
I think doing new perks in seasonal weapons or in high-end activities, even as we've seen in the raid, there are so many perks exclusive to Deepstone Crypt that they are like, yeah, we're not pulling these out of there. Those are going to stay in raids. We want those to be raid exclusive perks, like recombustion, recombination, and things like that. I think it's cool to have certain perks that only roll in their respective activities.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because they give you an edge in that activity, but because, I mean, let's be honest, like, yeah, it's something unique. Like, you had to play high level content to get this. The best perks should be restricted to that. However, I think it's a really good idea to not lock something like recombination behind Trials, because Trials is so much harder than going and doing an Ordeal Nightfall. Like, most people can still do at least the second level of a Nightfall before you have to like have a pre-made fire team. You can still do that match-made one and have a chance to drop a pretty decent roll on these Nightfall weapons.
Yeah.
Whereas like Trials, I mean, that's why people are resorting to jumping off. So let's get into the negatives.
Okay.
Hold on, let me stretch a little bit here.
Let's get into the negatives.
Nerd, do you want me to start off? Do you want to launch off? Are you ready to fire?
Nah, man, go ahead. Johnny,
Okay.
I mean, out of all of us, you've probably played the most Trials, so I want you to have your platform.
John, I want you to kick us off, because
Okay.
a lot of mine centers on at this point on the loot pool, but I want you to kick us off.
Okay. So to kind of set the stage, I am no PvP sweat by a long mile. I've never gotten more than 5 wins in Trials. I've never gone past 4,000 in comp or in survival. I'm by no means a PvP sweat, but I do enjoy PvP in Destiny quite a bit. And my lord, is Trials unrewarding when you are losing. The addition to be able to get at least a drop from the bounty is great. But when you lose 10 rounds in a row, whether you're jumping off a cliff or actually trying, and you get nothing but that one drop and maybe enough tokens from bounties to get one more drop from Saint, that sucks. Every other game mode in Destiny, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you're at least getting blues and random shots at legendaries and resources. Why they took away the token drop on losses is baffling to me. Why you don't have random... Okay, the Crucible itself, you have Frozen Orbit, you have the Keening, you have Stars and Shadows, you have good weapons in the Crucible. Why don't we have random shots to get those at the end of the matches? Why aren't we getting tokens at the end of matches?
I want to know why the fuck blues are dropping for me.
Yeah, it's just baffling. I've had weekends where the population is down, and me and my team are actually going out there and trying to at least get to 3 wins, and we can't do it. And we get the bounty drop, and we go back, and like I said, I have enough tokens for 1, maybe 2 drops from Saint from 4 hours of super sweaty, intensive PvP.
Yeah.
That's not acceptable.
No, it's not.
I can accept that people are better than me, and I'm never going to go flawless, and I'm okay with that. I should still be rewarded for my time.
So something that we discussed a couple weeks ago, we discussed vendor refreshes, across the board. And I said this, but I touched on it a little bit, but I really wanted to save it for this discussion this week with you guys. I want to see an overhaul to how the loot is done with Saint specifically. Like, yes, end of match needs to be adjusted. I believe that you should be... I don't know how you program this, but I think there needs to be some sort of protection in there where you can't just throw yourself off the edge anymore. You have to actually be trying to engage the other team. Maybe the game recognizes it or something, or you have to be in it for a certain amount of time. I don't know. I think there's got to be something there. But if you're I think you should be rewarded for trying with something. Like John said, whether that's a crucible weapon or a shader even. I think there needs to be something that a couple tokens.
Josh, we brought up the idea before while we were playing of throw last year's armor set as a random in reward.
I still think last year's armor set needs to drop.
Destiny 1, even though I never got to play it, I know that in Destiny 1 they had an armor set that was just kind of a generic set, but it was still Trials armor that dropped at the end of the match.
I would love to see a generic set, but drop the actual trial set as already bona fide ornaments that you can put on anything. So that like you're walking around, you're strutting your stuff all the time on anything you want. You're putting it on over your raid armor. You're wearing it in every activity, letting people know that this is what you got. You shouldn't have to pay to transmog stuff from an endgame activity like that or a raid.
Yeah.
I believe that should drop automatically as an ornament already, or it should unlock in your collections as an ornament. Like if you want to wear the real armor, go for it, but the first time you earn it, it's there as an ornament already in your transmog menus. When it comes to Saint, though, it baffles me. It's fucking baffling that they take your tokens out at the end of every week.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. I don't understand. Like, John, you actually were unaware of this until a couple weeks ago when I brought it up to you, that you lose your progress towards another level up with Saint every single week. It resets to level 1 every week. That is inexcusable.
Yeah.
That is frankly inexcusable.
And Bungie gets called out all the time for like catering to the streamers or the 1%, and most of the time I roll my eyes at that narrative because it's not true. In this instance, it is true. This is because someone
100%.
like Grenader Jake would have thousands and thousands of Trials tokens, and every time they introduce new Trials loot...
Even he has said it should be more accessible, though. Like, even these PvP streamers like him and like True Vanguard, Cool Guy, like they've all said like this stuff needs to be more accessible.
You just need to rain loot, and normal people will show up. And these matches won't feel so terrible.
Yes, you can still save your best stuff for the people going flawless or the people giving you 7 wins. Like, there's nobody's arguing that, but I'm saying like have some stuff for those of us who are never going to get there. Like, make me work for it, sure. Like, make me save up. If once it's unlocked in my loot pool, say if you want to guarantee that you're going to get an Igneous Hammer drop, 60 tokens, buddy. Pony up 60 tokens. If you don't want to do tokens for us there, let me use my Spoils of Conquest from other modes.
Yeah. Or make it universal.
Because there's a finite amount of those you can earn every week, and I feel like that would still be rewarding. I'd rather use those there than at the end of the raid. I've got, with the exception of Trustee and if I ever get it, Commemoration. If I ever get that to fucking drop, I've already got rolls on everything else that I like. Let me go spend those spoils at Saint.
I have one point I want to make, and then I want to hear what Nerd has to say. I want to hear Nerd go off here. But this is, to me, the biggest sin of Trials, is that as someone who's a medium crispy at best PvP player, I've had some of the best experiences ever in Trials. But it's very specific matches where I'm up against people of my skill level, where it's back and forth and you really don't know. And when you really are the last guardian standing, your team's down, you're trying to outplay when you actually have a shot, Trials is some of the most satisfying PvP that I have ever played. But most weekends, it's going up against people of, I poke a corner and someone stasis dodged around me, I'm slowed, I'm dead, and that just sucks. When it's good, when you're in a good match, when the population is healthy, it's some of the best PvP I've ever had in a game. Sadly, those matches are maybe once a weekend. Maybe.
Nerd, you've been waiting. I see you over there. Hit us with your spicy takes.
Well, I mean, I agree with just about everything you said, John. Like, there is no reason in a game that is all about time investment that you should feel like your time has been wasted. And it's an easy fix. We already have mechanics and other activities that reward time investment. For example, in the raid with the Spoils of Conquest system, that has been a heaven send for people for a lot of us, but even for people who invest a lot less time in Destiny, because it gives them an opportunity to sort of choose when they want to go all out and when they really want to hunt a specific role. I mean, you build up a bunch of spoils from maybe your fire team only goes through and clears the first encounter every single week. That's all you have time for. Or you want to go on a weekend and just farm spoils from the first or second encounter, whatever. Then when you're ready, you could just go to town on that chest at the end of the raid. There's no reason that I should feel like I have wasted my time in an activity. And unfortunately, with Trials, I feel very often like my time has been wasted.
Yeah, we feel that more often than not.
Correct. I would say there are very few times, especially like in the last few seasons, that I felt like going to trials was like a good use of my time. I would rather go do pretty much any other activity. I would rather play Gambit as a gilded dredgen with very little else to do.
Here we go.
In trials than to go in there and do that. If the loot pool wasn't where it was, I would just do like I did, for my first 3 years of Destiny and just say, screw it. I don't want anything to do with it. But the loot, I have FOMO and I feel like I'm going to miss out on these awesome perks. So I think that the way that you fix this is by allowing people to grind in some capacity. I think not deleting your tokens, like you guys said, every week would definitely go a long way to helping people. And I think giving people the option to target loot, and for a ridiculous amount of tokens or a ridiculous amount of some kind of currency is the way to go. People will play the game for ridiculous amounts of hours if you just give them the option to get the thing that they want. Yep. I will play the game 15 hours a week beyond what I normally would if it means all I got to do is just go and get my ass kicked in trials a bunch of times, but I'm still getting a little bit closer to that thing each time. It's a simple system. It's been implemented in many other MMOs at this point. There's no reason why I should go into trials, get my ass handed to me, and then just my progress is wiped clean at the end of the week. There's no reason for it. Now, my other gripe, and I'll kind of toss it back up to you guys for a little bit before we jump into this, is around like the matchmaking portion. But in terms of loot and rewards, like I'm with you guys on what you've said so far.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's just unfortunate because when it's good, it's some it's the best that's out there, and when it's bad, it's shut your Xbox off unplayable.
You make a perfect argument because like when the three of us were playing a couple weeks ago, I think it was during the Igneous Hammer week, and there was that match where we were up by 4 rounds against people, and then we lost. The other team came back and beat us and won the match. And then towards the end of our run, the same thing happened, except we were the ones who came back. Like, that is awesome. I will remember that sequence there for a long time because that was really rewarding and felt really good. Will I ever remember the weeks where I just got destroyed 6 times in a row? Will I ever find that fun in any capacity? No.
When you ran up against 10 different teams of triple flawless stasis hunters with Fellwinters and a 120,
Look at any other, and they call these activities the most aspirational activities. There's no aspiration there for me. Nobody wants to watch the Jets get blown out by the Seahawks. There's your plug, Josh. Josh would watch that. Josh would love to watch that. But nobody wants, like, in any other sporting activity, any other type of entertainment, nobody wants to watch the underdog get his ass kicked. They want to see the underdog find a way to scrape out a win every now and then.
Yeah. I agree with so much of what you guys are saying. I think Trials has been an absolute mess across the board, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention the steps they are taking here in the near future that Joe Blackburn laid out in the state of the game and the changes they're going to make to Trials going forward. Certainly, we don't have nearly as bad of an experience on console with cheaters as the PC crowd does. And they're taking a lot of steps there. A lot of these, mainstream cheating sites are getting shut down. They're being prosecuted. Even Bungie is suing them. Bungie, I know Activision's doing it for, like, Warzone is literally unplayable on PC at times now with hackers.
Did you guys see over the weekend, this group in China just got busted? Yep. And it was one of the biggest, like,
they've made like $68 million or something.
Yeah, these guys had like sports cars, like, good.
This is exactly why I push back on, like, put Trials behind a seasonal paywall or whatever. You need a season pass to play Trials. I'm like, that's not going to stop them. These people are paying like $50 to $100 a month for access to cheats. They're not going to give a crap about having to buy a new season pass.
Yeah,
right.
Right. I think a season pass. I think having to do the stuff in comp was a big part of that.
Yeah, the time sink is a good way. It's a good way to help.
It's a good way to punish. I mean, if you're going in and playing Trials, you've probably put an extensive amount of time into your character at that point. So I mean, I think maybe if there's something on the back end that they never reveal, like that there's a certain amount of hours you had to spend in this game in order to be able to access trials, for instance, I think that would go a long way towards it. Because that shouldn't be something you're just walking in and deciding, oh, I'm going to do this after I played 50 hours of Destiny.
Well,
Like,
not to sound like a broken record, but like I said, I am shepherding some new lights into the experience, and I've been trying to get them into trials now that they're at level. And I'm like, oh shit, you need 250 kills in survival. You need a full Valor reset. You know, you need to. That quest actually matters to someone who just made a new account, and so I think that's a good step. But I mean, you look at games like Valorant or even Warzone that have these multi-layer authentication processes, or like Valorant has its own client that you have to download, an anti-cheat that's installed on your computer alongside the game, and they still deal with cheaters. You know.
So the specific. Oh, go ahead, nerd, because I want to read exactly what Joe Blackburn wrote.
No, go ahead.
So the targeted goals that they have specifically for Trials of Osiris, like this is after all the this is after taking out cheaters, 3-peaking, etc.
All that.
3 goals that they have: improve the overall health of the matchmaking pool by incentivizing a wider audience to engage and better defining separation of skill tiers. Rebuild the Trials reward structure so it encourages more players to stick to their active cards longer. The current structure encourages a lot of recycling after a single loss. John, we reset when we lose, especially if it's in the first round. We lose that mercy, meaning the first games of your Trials card has a high chance of being incredibly challenging. We want to build a reward structure that continually pushes higher skill players to want to progress deeper into their card even after a loss, making 3 to 5 wins a more achievable goal for more players. Thank you. And investigate opportunities for solo players to participate in trials regularly. We believe this will not only make the matchmaking pool healthier, but will also encourage more players to see what trials is all about and hopefully form social connection with other PvP-loving guardians. After trials, we are targeting a similar in scope refresh to Iron Banner. All of this sounds so good. And these are goals that they have to have in place by Season 15.
Yeah.
So we won't see a lot of these in Season 14. I want to be really clear about that. Like, you're not going to see most of that. I think the only thing, 3-peaking isn't even being done until Season 15. Like, they know this is going to take a long time because right now they're focusing on nerfing stasis and getting it to a healthy place in the Crucible. Which I will say, I will say, with the exception of fucking Dustfield grenades, I actually feel like it's not in a horrible place in Trials anymore.
I have one huge problem with stasis still, and I'm going to complain about it until it gets changed.
Go ahead and hit me, John.
It's the fact that your accuracy gets tanked when you're slowed.
Which they do address in here as well, saying that that's one of the specific things they're working on for Season 14 and 15 is making it to where when you are frozen, that your level of survivability, or slowed or frozen, you have a higher chance to survive.
No, I'm fine with them taking away my mobility. I'm fine with them taking away my abilities. I'm fine with them taking away my ability recharge rate when I get slowed. That's fair. You tag me. That's what your class does. I'm okay with that. Let me stand my ground and win a gunfight. The fact that I can't reload nearly half as fast and my accuracy is all... I love Last Word. That Last Word is what I main in PvP. And I know how that gun acts. And I can have my crosshairs directly on a dude's chest, and he throws a shuriken at me, and suddenly I am shooting to the left and to the right of him. You know? That drives me insane.
That's cold.
Yeah. You can take away all those things. Let me stand my ground and try to win a gunfight then if I can't move.
So to kind of like go back on what the points that you read there, Josh, I think all of the issues that are highlighted below it are fixed with having a better matchmaking system. Yep. The current and guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but currently, like, the current matchmaking setup is card based. So you're playing against people who are on relatively the same type of, or the same number of matches you. Skill and ELO and all that good stuff is not factored into it in any capacity. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's the problem with it is, in theory, this is a great system. The problem is we only have on your average trials weekend 120, 150,000 people.
Oh, right. So it's sort of a problem at both sides, right? So like your population is never going to increase Unless, like, we've injected good loot in, and I think we'll see little spikes from here and there.
Which I think we have seen more consistent spikes, but a lot of that also goes to not only the health of the matchmaking system and needing a better system, but also just, goddamn, stop shutting down trials every other weekend.
That's a whole separate problem altogether.
It is. We're not even going to get into that tonight,
But I think if you have a better system that allows people to slowly get better at the game mode itself, I think that you're slowly going to build that trials playlist up. It's not something that you're going to be able to fix overnight, and there's no way you're going to be like just throwing loot into the pool and saying, hey guys, go get this thing. It's going to result in people taking the path of least resistance and doing the quick and easy thing, which is jumping off the cliff. Yeah. You have to incentivize people to go into the playlist, stay in the playlist, and build up their skills and get better. And the only way you do that is matching them against people who are of similar skill or of similar trials experience with them. And I think the best way to do that is to either base it on skill or base it on the number of times you've gone flawless within a specific period of time. I just don't see any other way around building a playlist without improving people's skill and their ability within that playlist.
Yeah.
To pull it back and play devil's advocate just a little bit, at a certain point you do have to kind of retain that trials is like the most aspirational thing you can do in PvP, and there's a non-insignificant percentage of the population that doesn't even play PvP. They don't even like playing normal Crucible. So asking them to go play trials is for the same way, in the same way that there are people who only play Crucible. They don't want to go do raids. They don't want to go do Nightfall ordeals. They're not going to go do solo legendary lost sectors. This is kind of the problem with Destiny. The blessing and the curse of Destiny is you're serving so many different populations at the same time, right?
See, I'm gonna push back on that a little bit, because like if you look at the world's first races, right? How many of the PvP content creators did we see streaming the raid and streaming and getting world first clears, right? So like the top tier PvP people are able to make that jump into the other activities, and they're able to participate in those aspirational activities. But I'll be honest, I don't feel that way going the other way. So it doesn't feel like there's an open road there between the two sides of the coin.
That's fair. I would say that, specifically streamers and YouTubers, they, literally make a living off playing Destiny all day. So they're gonna get into everything. But
I agree.
Yeah.
I do have exactly one singular friend who only plays Destiny to play the Crucible, and I've tried to get him into, hey man, you need to get enhancement cores. Let's go run some Nightfalls and trying to,
And I think there's something to be said for that too. Like if these aspirational activities seem out of reach, or they seem too hard or too convoluted, that's a problem. I mean, you don't have to, I still think you give like top tier rewards, and you just shower people in loot who are at that high level, who are participating against other people who are really strongly skilled. Give them all the special ornaments, give them all the special cosmetics and emblems.
Yep.
But there's no reason.
Glowing cape in the tower, that guy's
There's no reason why I should have to go in there and just like feel like I'm fodder for somebody who has a double unbroken title.
Yeah. And it's that constant cycle of they're not going to fix it until they get more people in the playlist, but if they dilute it too much, then it's not worth going for, and it's just
I really feel like to kind of start walking towards wrapping this conversation up, I think that the changes that Blackburn lays out here in the state of the game from February kind of feels like Trials' like real last shot in its current incarnation. Because they took it away, they didn't have it in here. They did Trials of the Nine, which we're not even going to talk about how bad Trials.
You don't even talk about Trials of the Nine.
And then they were like, we're not bringing Trials back. We want to make sure it's the best experience possible. It launched to very, very lukewarm reception. It was terrible its first season. I remember helping people try to grind for even one summoner role, and we were just getting fucked on constantly. And then, of course, I'm rewarded with a celerity.
And that was before Stasis.
That was before Stasis. That was before Stasis. That was before the bounty. The bounty definitely made the playlist a bit healthier. I'll say that. So like we were getting
at least Friday night, you have the odds of facing real normal people and not just,
And then stasis happened. And after one season of it feeling okay, stasis happened. We've gotten better loot now. Stasis has been nerfed a bit. It feels a little bit more fair. I mean, I feel like we got to the third match pretty comfortably a couple of times the last few weekends. And a lot of that's because weapon weekends, I think, are always going to be a bit easier. Like I said, it dilutes it a little bit. When the sword is up, that's going to be the easiest goddamn weekend to get the 3 wins you've ever seen.
Oh, man.
I promise you.
That chain reaction sword is going to be, it's going to haunt me until I get it.
Yeah, get celerity on it.
You know, like, I think there's a healthy way to do a solo playlist. I think Iron Banner Freelance was really a testing ground for that.
Yep. And Survival Freelance before.
Freelance also. I mean, Survival Freelance, I coasted my way to Recluse in one afternoon.
Josh.
I'm terrible.
I do want to point out one more problem, and I know you're trying to wrap up, but I really, really want to get this out there. I have a really huge problem with having aspirational activities like this that are very focused on winning and trying to play at the top of your ability and mesh with your people, and giving us bounties that require us to get 10 solar grenade kills or 10 arc kills. Like, I think that a solo playlist that really focuses on those bounties, those bounty completions, is where that stuff should live. Because like if I'm going in and I'm trying to go flawless and I'm trying to go as far on my card as possible, I'm sorry, I'm not going to try to get 10 kills with something that I'm not comfortable with. It's a waste of time, and it seems against the whole idea of trying to do the best.
To further support your point here, Nerd, I've said for a long time that bounties should be more generic. It should be get assists, get special weapon kills, get ability kills.
I'm going to agree with all that. I'm going to pile onto it just a little bit more, too. Something I've said is that I think that there should never be like, so for example, your normal bounties you have for trials, it's as a fire team, get 20 hand cannon kills or get 20 solar kills or something like that. Your ones after that, your repeatables, are the ones where you have to be doing it solo. Everything should count in both this, in Nightfalls, etc., as increase the limits on them for all I care in some of these activities, but make it across the board for the fire team. That everyone is progressing towards it, so that way you don't have people working against each other. I can't tell you the amount of times I've gone to go do a Nightfall, go do like a hero level Nightfall, and I've like people are just in there trying to do bounties, and I'm like, oh my god, if you want to do bounties, go to the fucking Vanguard playlist. Get out of the Ordeal playlist. You're not even killing champions. You're trying to run past everything. I'm trying to get rewards, but you're the same dumbass I'm going to see on Reddit.
That's a whole other episode.
I can't do the show. I can't get palindrome. Kill the champions, you fuck.
I want that clip of Josh just go.
Someone make that a GIF, please. You need to release the video of this podcast just so we can get a GIF of that.
Nope, I control the video.
Before we turn this into a whole spectrum-wide discussion on Nightfalls, that's 100% true. Like, competing against your opponents, or your teammates, rather, it feels bad. Trying to run faster than everyone on your strike team just to get your bounties done feels bad. And Trials, at least, did that right, where your whole fire team helps you complete those bounties. But yes, they should be more generic, because if you are running with a team of people who don't want to snipe, having one of the main bounties for that weekend be get 35 sniper kills feels bad.
Sag.
All right, guys. Well, I think we've all gotten our final thoughts about the state of Trials, the kind of good, the kind of so-so, and the real ugly. I mean, we've gotten them all out there. Of course, this is the second in our installment of kind of looking at endgame level aspirational activities. Over the next 2 weeks, I don't know what order we're going to do them in, but we're going to tackle. I think we're going to try and do it raids and then grandmasters once all 6 grandmasters are up. And then I think we're going to have to tack on a week for Gambit at the end, given some of our feelings about Gambit.
I love Gambit. Have me on. I love Gambit.
We're
Gambit is life.
Gilded Dredgen over here. Gilded Generalist.
Ooh, name change. I'm on it.
Name change. I'm telling you. We're gonna shift gears here. I wasn't going to introduce this topic, but I want to take about 5-10 minutes right before we run into Lore Corner. So we're doing kind of okay on time. And I want to ask you guys about these comments that we saw coming up from one of the lead designers. It was a conversation that was done in another language. It had to be translated. But basically, the long and the short of it is he confirmed that there will not be a Destiny 3 before 2026. The Destiny 2 is the game to finish out the Light and Dark saga. They're not going to make you go buy a new game, but basically implying there may be a chance to move on to this. But more specifically about the next Bungie game that they're developing is a universe in tandem with Destiny, was the specific wording, I believe.
In parallel with, I believe.
Parallel, tandem, same thing. Same thing.
Okay.
Same thing. We're splitting hairs here.
Where's the devil's advocate on this one, huh?
I'm gonna go ahead and just squash this whole thing right now. I read this whole thing as developers talking about Bungie is making a game in parallel with Destiny.
Right.
Not that the game is going to be parallel to Destiny.
Right.
They're making Destiny. They're making another game.
No,
But
that's
that's
not what I
something that-
heard though. I heard that the game worlds are in parallel. Why would they
They're gonna
include
do
the
it
game
like
world?
Titanfall and Apex? They're gonna.
I don't know. I'm gonna try to look up the quote exactly since Josh
I'm
botched
looking it
this.
up right now. I wasn't gonna talk about it, but I'm looking it up now.
This is Josh's bourbon topic. He drinks a little too much
Okay.
bourbon
Speaking
and he
of
raises.
bourbon, I need to slip away for just 1 second. I'll
Go
wait.
ahead. Go ahead.
I'll be right.
I've got the article from Paul Tassi pulled up. So, looking through here, design director Jacob Benton was asked about Bungie's next IPs, and one in particular seems to be a huge project they're lining up first. Benton says something along the lines of they're working on a secret world in parallel with Destiny.
Yeah, that particular. So the way that's worded doesn't. I mean, you could read it both ways with the way that's worded there.
The way I'm interpreting this is that this is Matter.
Mm-hmm.
That this is the Chris Barrett led game that we've talked about ad nauseum on here. We first saw it trademarked a couple years ago. We got the confirmation he was working on it last year. I'd be really surprised if that game comes out in 2025. I think that's a lot farther along than people realize.
I mean,
personally.
I think just watching Bungie's development schedule for Destiny over the last few years, I think they've really relished in the concept of taking more time. More time is less time on the back end. Anybody throwing out any kind of development schedule right now in 2021 I take it with a grain of salt. I think it's going to be out.
There's an
way
update
later.
here at the bottom of this article too that I want to address.
Go.
Bungie reached out to Paul Tassi and said that the interview gives nothing new other than what they said in the February expansion news about the studio, and that they were chalking it up to translation issues. They reiterated they plan to have their first new IP out by 2025, not in 2025, by 2025, and they are developing many different games alongside Destiny, so the parallel worlds. Because we know Matter is in development, and we know that they are still doing the mobile game that NetEase is funding with a $50 million investment.
Mm-hmm.
We know they're working on
its
both
Destiny trading card game.
God, dude.
Oh my, dude.
How
I'm all in. I'm all
Except,
in.
though. Did you guys see that on Twitter this week?
Yep.
Nerd, if you haven't seen it, I'm gonna have to send it to you.
Well, weren't there rumors that at one point in time Magic had some kind of collaboration with Destiny and they had potentially made some cards? Like I caught just like the tail end of an article about it.
I'm an avid Magic player, and I've never seen any kind of collaboration.
Yeah, John's the guy.
No, I don't think it was ever made tangible. I think this was all just like a very high level, very early on conceptual stuff. I'll see if I can find the article.
It would make sense. Wizards of the Coast, the people who make Magic the Gathering, that's who Nintendo approached to make the Pokemon TCG. So it would make sense that we'd go to those guys to build your trading card game.
I saw some people speculating like, oh, maybe what they're talking about with a parallel world is that it's a Destiny game, but it's a more linear game set in like the Dark Ages or something with the warlords and like with Warlord Shax or the Iron Lords, like Saladin when he's first getting his light, something like that.
Damn hunt of the space dragons.
Yeah, they're like maybe it'll be similar in nature to how Halo 3 ODST was as a spinoff of the main series and introduced a lot of changes. For me, it's always felt that Destiny is just going to be its singular game, that we are going to drop the two eventually, just become Destiny, merge everything together, but that its expansion and its continuation is going to be through expansions. But if you want to explore the Iron Lords or the hunt for the Ahamkara, for example, that's going to be told in these new mediums that they talked about in the studio expansion. That's going to be graphic novels, can you imagine a Destiny anime? How fucking cool that would be! Like, that feels like the perfect medium for this because those are already over the top. Destiny is a very over the top game. The only thing that'll change is Guardians won't be hunkering down behind cover waiting to drop a well.
One of the coolest fan art projects I ever saw was somebody who did a Destiny anime intro, but in the style of like Thundercats. Mm-hmm. It worked so well. Honestly, it would be a no-brainer. I don't know why it's not done already.
I would love to see 6 to 12 episodes of a Destiny anime made by the studio that does Demon Slayer, with how the colors and the sword fighting pops in that series, how incredible that would look. Like they do with like supernatural powers, like how cool that would look. But like Destiny-fied, like show me Osiris's last moments of having the light with Sagira's sacrifice. Show me that. Why did we not get that? Bungie, I swear to God, if we don't see Crow and Mara meeting, we're gonna throw hands. I'm gonna drive to your house. We're gonna throw hands, Mr. Bungie. It's gonna be a problem. But anyway, I just wanted to get everybody's like a little like quick snippet of a thought about what happened there with these rumors. I didn't think it was too much, but a lot of people were picking up on it. It's like, yeah, we've kind of talked about this before. Like the studio expansion just kind of confirmed it. They're moving towards being a publisher. They're going to be a publisher of indies.
Yeah, like I said, I read this whole story as, okay, we already talked about this. Bungie's making another game. They're making another IP. They're branching. I'm not just banking on. Not that I feel like Destiny's going to fail.
We know they have that. They have at least 2 in development. One of which seems to be their multiplayer focused one, like competitive Halo level multiplayer.
Yeah.
And then I imagine that the mobile IP is the one that, like, we've kind of seen in some of the job listings, like it's going to be a little bit more lighthearted and whimsical than fucking Destiny or Halo was.
What, you saying Destiny's not whimsical? It's not a feel-good game, Josh?
No, it's not. I've become almost as afraid for my favorite NPCs in Destiny as I am in Attack on Titan.
Attack on Titan, so we had that just a couple weeks ago, didn't we? Zavala.
I hate you so much. You're never invited on here ever again.
I'm never being invited again. Joshua, I have a request.
Jonathan.
As a guest host here.
Oh, God.
Can I answer a reader mail question from multiple weeks ago?
Well, yes. What is the reader mail question? Actually, no. Hold. I want you to hold that. I want to hold the question.
Okay.
We're gonna do Lore Corner real fast. Okay. We'll close out on that. All right. Lore Corner this week. I earned it. I earned this object literally an hour before we started. I went and soloed through like 3/4 of Dead Man's Tale through Presage to get to the final fucking scannable. And it's between the hangars. When you're jumping out in space, it's the one that I had missed. Of course, you had to battle through 2 darkness zones to get to it. I've never been more scared of screams in my life. But the Shell of Gilgamesh is tonight's Lore Corner.
Excellent.
For ghosts who have delved into the underworld. I don't want to do this, Catavai said flatly. His legs hung over the precipice of a towering Vex pillar on Nessus. Callus's pleasure barge whirred as engines fired to life in the distance. A job every now and then's one thing. Side note: this is the first confirmation we've had of the sex barge like making it out of the collapse. I just want to note that. Catabai thumbed the small royal jewel seated in his newly gifted imperial coin. He didn't know if this was an invitation one could refuse, and operating outside of the city's jurisdiction had become more and more lucrative in a time when consensus resources felt taxed beyond their limit. Without a hunter vanguard soliciting reports of his activities, it had become all too easy to slip away on illicit solo missions. Gilgamesh, Catabai's ghost, leered at the Guardian before pivoting to bask in the shadow of the Leviathan. The trust of an emperor isn't something to squander. It was a trust Kata and Gilly had fought hard to obtain, tracking game through the jungles of Venus, poaching strange quantum jellyfish in the storms of Saturn, putting down Red Legion traitors, anyone seeking to corral Callus and his loyalists into a paddock for Keidel's judgment. Catabai's hunts had always been painted against the grand planetscape of a wild frontier. He wasn't a fan of fish in a barrel, and he didn't want to become one. Something about sitting in a Cabal cruiser in empty space felt awfully like a sealed barrel surrounded by ocean, locked in with nowhere to run. More like I'm the only one listening to his ranting. Catabai pocketed the Imperial. His kid is making him antsy. Probably reckless, too. I swear the Reddies were gunning down, or just anyone Callus can find with a name worth taking, he stated nonchalantly. Is that so bad? Used to be the only difference between Reddies and Callus's boys was politics. I don't mind throwing some political lead downrange so long as it's isolated, but this is the dark, little buddy. Feels wrong. Feels like something we shouldn't mess with on our own. You can accept his offer and crew up, or take your sorry self back to the city and wait for orders from an empty chair, Gilly sneered. Think of what we could learn. Those wannabe godslayers chasing stasis on Europa had one thing right. Power decides the future. We should have been there to take it with them. A voyage to the darkness isn't the story I was hoping to retire on, Catabai chuckled, before continuing. Or maybe it is. I've been tired lately. The light is getting thinner, Catabai. I can feel it. Sharing space with something else we've yet to tap. Gilly swung around to face his guardian. We need something to fall back on, friend. We've been around for a long time. We've always been told to mind our step, stay in the sun, right? But what happened the second we started to choose our own path out in the shadows? The hunter looked to his ghost. We got stronger, richer. Gilly had a nose for this sort of thing. Every time Catabai had listened to him, Gilly had led him to a new discovery, a new power. He taught him to wield the arc staff, taught him to dance through the shadows. These discoveries had their prices, their scars, their lessons. But what are scars to an immortal? That is hauntingly beautiful in a way. That final line is just something that I think is kind of it sits in the back of our mind. It sits on the boilerplate when we talk about the stories and the lore in this game. What are scars to an immortal? Like, Cade dying was really the first consequence we ever truly saw. We'd only heard of the Guardians dying. We'd never actually seen
true deaths
die. Yeah, like his ghost died. His best friend was killed, and he knew that was it.
Yep.
You know, we see it with Osiris. The difference is Osiris had somebody there to help save him. We got there in time to save Osiris. Between us and the Crow, we weren't able to do that for Cade, and I think this is just fascinating to see a ghost talking this way. This is a ghost that clearly at some point got into something. Clearly had a brush with the darkness. You know, we hear our ghost says it. Pulled Pork says it. Well, Glint now, as he's called, has said, you know, they scoured the galaxy looking for us and for Crow. Like, they spent eons searching for us. They were teased by other ghosts because they were still searching for their guardian. And maybe our ghost is naive. Maybe our ghost after 800 years will be like this. Who knows? Like, this is a ghost that's clearly delved into some stuff. And Callus is into some pretty dark shit. Like, let's not mince words here. Like, if you're Callus's personal shadow, you're doing some stuff. Like, and the fact that his ghost, that Gilgamesh says they should have been there on Europa to seize the stasis power. This feels like cosmic intervention in a way. Like, I wouldn't be shocked to see Catabai and Gilgamesh show up farther down the line in visions from the future.
Hold on. You can't expect me to take you seriously and to like listen to this while Johnny is stroking his Callus Funko as you're giving us this really deep
I'm glad I didn't have the window pulled up.
He's sitting there just stroking his callous Funko Pop as you're like diving into these really deep topics. I couldn't hold it in. You've ruined Lore Corner, Johnny.
Ruin Lore Corner.
No, but seriously, where do I get one of these awesome ghosts? Because mine is just a fucking Debbie Downer and tries to like ground me when I do bad things.
He fucking guilts me all the time. Give me back Dinklebot. He never did this to me.
He was just boring and
really
unexcited about everything.
I'd really love to see Gilly and Kata show up in the lore in the future. Like if we get more visions of Elsie from the future. Because I mean, they're not done with that storyline. We're gonna hear more about that. Like, I would not be surprised to see them come out and say, "Oh yeah, that was one of the Guardians, like one of the core Guardians that sided with Aramis over the city and helped lead one of the attacks on the city." Because it's said in the future that you had even leading the Red Legion. So you had Red Legion, Aramis, and Savathun all attack the city at once.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't shock me to know that in a potential future that had happened. Because we already know Ghost can be possessed by the darkness.
Yeah, we've seen it.
We've seen it multiple times, and it's frightening every single time it happens. I'm scared for my little buddy. But now I'm kind of like, God damn, take this Ghost. Like, he's getting on my nerves.
Jokes aside, I wish this is something they would do more in the lore, especially in-game, of showing these other characters interact with their ghosts. I mean, our ghost is so integral to how we experience everything. You know, the fact that this franchise has been going on for over 6 years, and this is the first time I've ever physically seen Zavala's ghost, is weird to me. Right, I've never seen Zavala talk to his ghost. At least Saint, like, it jokingly tells his ghost to record certain things in Trials. You know, I want more of that. I feel like that's more important to the Guardian experience, right?
Well, especially since we lost Sagira. I mean, she was like probably one of the good examples of where we did see that with that interaction back and forth.
First ever Guardian's ghost we ever talked to, right?
Right, yeah. And if you look at the external content, like the comics and some of the novels, not novels, but like specifically the comics, because I've been reading them this week, like there's ghosts popping up everywhere talking to the characters. I would love to see that. It's a good call out.
Yep.
Yeah. So this feels, the story of Kata and Gilly feels like something that's going to be explored in the future, whether it's through a comic book, an anime episode, like some episode of an anthology in the future, even future lore. Like this feels like this is a physical guardian that we're finding the body of, and we go on a hunt for their ghost and everything else. Like this is something that's not going to go away. Like even Keitel questions, why are we going in to retrieve the ghost? Like what are we doing poking around the ship repeatedly? And Osiris tells her we're on a mission to retrieve the ghost. We know the Guardian is dead, but we're looking for the ghost.
I'm on a mission to jump up on the Guardian's head and emote. That's what I'm there for.
I mean, that's what I'm there for.
I mean, anything to put down a hunter, you know, I'm here for.
And of course, we already know that, well, we strongly suspect that there is going to be one final thing to do on the Glykon this season, possibly the last week of the season, thanks to people glitching into
it's probably going to be pinning a Titan flag to the hunter after they win Guardian.
That's where the statue went. That's where the trophy went.
He fucking stole it before he died. All right, we have one more component to Lore Corner this week, and this was suggested by a NerdGeneralist. I'm gonna read the text of an exotic item, and you guys are going to try and guess what it is. This was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, because so many of the goddamn weapons in this game have the name of the weapon in the lore.
Just bleep it out. Bleep it out.
Anyways, well, I didn't think about that. So, here we go. I'm going to trust on the honor system. Neither of you will be Googling.
Hands in the air.
Hands in the air. Okay, I've seen the hands. All right. The world is very big again. It used to be small. I know because I was born inside its ComWire satellite data wave skeleton. But even before that, before the traveler wove us into a tapestry of peculiar threads, this was a planet of big, big worlds. Many of those worlds were lost in the collapse, but not the one you're thinking of. Before the Great Collapse, there was another, a longer, slower, bitterer collapse. Some things survive. names upon rusted signs, phrases in impervious microfiche. As other guardians save humans, I save worlds. I save words. I save stories. That is my mission. Here on the shores of the Hawkesbury Sea, I surface the survivors, the sweet-voiced Kudalong, the swift Gangaroo, the sharp-fanged Bleep. It's a mission the Traveler started. After all, she surfaced me.
Wow, this is actually really hard.
I almost fucked up there at the end because I didn't catch it when I was vetting this, and I was just reading along. I almost spoiled it right there. I'll give you each 3 guesses before I tell you what it is.
Okay, so any exotic? We're talking armor as well.
Any exotic.
Oh man, I was thinking just exotic weapons. We're talking armor too.
All right, Josh. So before we guess, I'm gonna make a recommendation since this was my fucking idea. I'm gonna make a recommendation.
In the future, I will tell you what it is. I will tell you what category.
Okay, that's helpful too. But like, it'd be cool if we could post it somewhere. Like, if you could send us the text with the name of the thing redacted.
Can we phone a friend?
Yeah. No, you cannot phone a friend, John. You'd be phoning me.
I was about to say, second question, what's your phone number? Because I only talk on Twitter and Xbox.
My Twitter DMs are going to start lighting up.
Josh is the only guy who dude, I don't even...
At Bife.
Okay, is it legal to look at a list of exotics?
No. I will narrow this down for you. It is a weapon.
Racking.
No, that's John's first guess.
Sleeper simulant.
No, that's Nerd's first guess.
That
was a good guess, though. I will say that Sleeper was a good guess.
Can you read us some more tidbits, please? I need to hear some of it again. This is why I think posting it somewhere.
It used to be small. The world is very big again. It used to be very small. I know because I was born inside its ComWire satellite data wave skeleton.
Outbreak perfected.
Nope.
Traveler's Chosen?
Nope. Oh, so I've explicitly read.
Thank you. That was my next guess.
I've read Traveler's Chosen on this show before. No, Traveler's Chosen will never be one of the answers for this.
I love Traveler's Chosen. Fuck you.
I know, but that one is so particularly out of left field that if I ever do it, it's going to be after Witch Queen.
All right.
You each have one guess remaining.
Were we close on any of those?
No.
Fuck. All right, give us one more like tidbit from the lore. Come on. Make it good. Give us the piece where it says the name, but you bleep it out.
That is my mission. Here on the shores of the Hawkesbury Sea, I surface survivors. The sweet-voiced Kudalong, the swift Gangaroo.
I regret this. Instant regret.
Gangaroo. I'm changing my gamer tag.
If I can be sweet-voiced Kudalong.
XX Swift Gangaroo.
All right.
420.
XX 420.
Final guess, Fourth Horseman.
Nope.
I'm gonna be so mad when you tell me what it is. Too.
You really are.
Dude, I don't even know. I'm trying to think of just like a fucking ridiculously random one. Wardcliff?
Nope.
All right, I don't know.
It is, drum roll please, the sharp-fanged Tarrabah.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Nope.
What does that have to do with Tarrabah? We got to... Oh, I'm so mad.
So, not that I chose this because it was going to be deliberately hard. Because the other ones that I liked said I was going to choose Coldheart. Cold Heart has the name like in the second fucking line. I didn't think to bleep it. I was gonna do one of the others. I think I was gonna do Sleeper, but it's like all text from Rasputin, and that's really hard to like talk.
Or just
like,
be dashes and
that like fucking gives it away.
ampersands.
There were others that were like they said it like multiple times. I almost slipped up. I did not catch that it said Sharp Fang Tarrabah until I got to it, and I stopped myself right before I said the word. John, you probably did get the closest with Rat King, but it's still like.
So yeah, suggestions for next time we do this. Give us the text.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that you read it out loud. I definitely think we should do that. But give us the text, and I like the hint. The hint was nice, like narrowing it down to like at least a category. Like if it was arms, say arms. You don't have to give us the class or anything. But that was fun though. That was lore I probably wouldn't have acknowledged otherwise. So.
Yeah, I expected Tarrabah, and I'm slapping myself on the wrist for never reading Tarrabah's lore card.
See, John, I thought that of anybody, you would have a chance to get this because you love that raid so much.
I never got Tarrabah, so
I'm gonna be honest with you though, like I would get tripped up on most of these as well because I don't remember every lore for every fucking weapon.
And see, if it would have mentioned one thing about Callus or the Crown or anything, Well,
and that's the thing. Like, I wanted to choose something that wasn't like so obnoxiously obvious. Like, I was gonna do the show of Gilgamesh originally, and then as I was reading it, because I earned it, I was like, oh my god, this would be perfect. I can get two birds with one stone. And I was like, oh fuck, there's so many times it says their names in this. I can't do this. I've only talked about these guys the whole season. So. That was it. Now, John, before we get on out of here, you said you wanted to respond to reader mail from a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, and not that you and Corey didn't do a good job of addressing the question, but I felt like I had a couple.
Raggedy bitch!
He said you did a shit job. I'm coming on this show and I'm gonna do your job for you.
Right.
So, and I apologize for not remembering the name, but someone wrote in a couple weeks ago asking about. They're trying to figure out what roles to look for in weapons.
Yes.
And I just have a couple pointers that I feel is going to, because, we know the meta changes constantly. Every season, new weapons get introduced, balance changes go into effect, things go out of whack. It's not just one thing you can kind of point to for good roles. I feel like pointing people towards light.gg. If you look up any weapon in light.gg, you're going to see on every weapon all the perks that can come on that weapon, and you'll see a little Vanguard symbol and a little Crucible symbol, and that'll show you if they're good in PvE or PvP. And if they're good in both, they'll have a little trophy there to show you that they're good in both. So that's just a great resource. No matter what season or what meta you're in, you can look up your weapon and say, oh, hey, this happens to be a great PvP role or a great PvE role. I might want to stash this if I'm not super familiar with the meta. The second thing I wanted to add to that is this little indie website called YouTube. There's a lot of great creators on YouTube. People like Astacross, Fallout Plays, Cool Guy Games, Drewski. There's a ton of different Destiny creators out there who do nothing but look at weapon roles and go over how each weapon plays with different roles and what you want to look for. It's an evolving thing that you got to keep up with. It's kind of hard to point people towards, hey, these are the perks that you want to look out for because it changes season to season. So I just wanted to throw that out there for anyone who might be new into Destiny or just returning and looking to figure out the ever-evolving gun meta.
Kudos to you, Johnny, for coming on here and actually doing something helpful. I come on here and just make bad jokes. You come on here and actually give good information. I would also like to toss out, in addition to light.gg, because sometimes it takes a while for their perk list to update. Mm-hmm. D2gunsmith.com is also a good one. Yep. Usually they'll have some in there that light.gg doesn't have, so you can kind of play off both of them. So, I'll take the reins and I'll post the links to those on Twitter and tag everybody so they can grab it.
Awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there.
We're good.
For New Guardian.
We're good. I like that. I like that. Those are good resources, both for new players and for veteran players alike. I can't tell you how many times John and I have seen a new weapon pop up, and we're sending each other the light GG links. To be like, oh my god, did you see this? It's in the database.
I still remember months ago when we figured out that the new trial sword comes with chain reaction.
Oh my god, dude! I did not care about that sword until you sent that to me, and I was like, yep, nope, that's it. That's all we're doing that weekend. We're playing a lot of trials for that sword. But we're going to go ahead and roll on out of there. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you tune in week after week. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight, even though our fearless leader is out for a few weeks. John, tell the people where they can find you at.
You can find me on Xbox or Twitter at A1Johnnny with, count 'em, 3 N's.
3 N's, not 2, 3. Nerd, but you.
You can find me over on Twitter at NerdGeneralist. I'm usually yelling at Josh about things on Twitter.
True.
Or Johnny, or posting gifs at Johnny. That's where I'm at. NerdGeneralist on Twitter.
It's true. And then, of course, you can always find me on Twitter and Twitch as at Josh_Finn with 2 N's, not 3, 2. And go ahead and join us next week. We're gonna talk raids. We're gonna see if we can rope our friend Colonel Panic into joining us to talk some raids.
Ooh.
And Nerd has a fun spin on the raids topic for us, because raids are actually in a pretty damn good spot right now. He's got a fun topic for us to tackle. And until next time, guys, we will see you Starside. Take it easy.
Okay, bye.